and welcome to the Ace Capone Show. It's been a long time, but I'm back. Got a new studio, still getting things done right now. The biggest thing right now is I'm just going to jump into it. The biggest thing right now is that Joe Biden using lawfare to go after uh, President Donald Trump. Donald Trump has been found guilty on 34 counts of we don't know. Um, They've never told us what these counts were. The jury didn't know what those counts were. And basically, it was a Democrat judge who contributed to the Biden campaign. No matter how much he contributed, he was a sympathizer or an agent for the Democrat Party. You have his daughter campaigning on the fact that her father's going after Donald Trump. You have a prosecutor who left the White House, the third in line from the White House, who went to New York to pursue Donald Trump. You have a jury from the city of Manhattan who voted, I believe it was 90% Biden, who people who are motivated to keep Donald Trump out of the White House, um, knowing that, the media fed this frenzy by saying that if Donald Trump had a felony, people won't vote for him. So basically, this thing is all rigged. And the Democrats are gaslighting you by telling you that, oh, no, no, this isn't rigged. This is real. He got convicted by a jury of his peers. Well, Donald Trump doesn't live in Manhattan. And Donald Trump doesn't hang out with those people. So how are they a jury of his peers? He doesn't know any of those people. I hate when they say jury of your peers. Well, if I'm affiliated with those people, now those are a jury of my peers. Now, if you're talking about society in general, well, obviously they're not a jury of my peers because we have nothing in common. You have a jury of Democrat Joe Biden sympathize, Joe Biden voter. You have a jury of his enemies rather than a jury of his peers. And these guys are celebrating. They're crip walking all over the place because they think that if they smear this man, he will lose. And they don't want to talk about Joe Biden's record because Joe Biden has nothing to run on. If you're going to discuss Joe Biden, you're going to discuss his failures as a president. And right now, that's all he has. And he's trying to hide this record that he has because uh, he wants to talk about Donald Trump. He wants to fearmonger. He wants to say that Donald Trump is going to do the things that I'm already doing. And we've already seen Donald Trump in office. And you can't tell us that Donald Trump is going to do X, Y, and Z because we've already understood that he had an opportunity to be a dictator. He had an opportunity to, abuse his power, and he chose not to. He chose not to go after Hillary Clinton. He gave her mercy when he had plenty of evidence to go after her. And the DOJ and the FBI said, no, no, no one would really go after this person, even though she, destroyed evidence after we subpoenaed her. After this woman had an illegal server in her basement, unsecured. She deleted and destroyed evidence after she was subpoenaed. All of those things say that she should have gone to jail. But Democrats don't go to jail because they're a criminal enterprise and they never go to jail. But if you're a Republican or if are a MAGA Republican, you definitely go to jail. And you have fanfare behind you going to jail. People celebrate. They put out the doves and the confetti and they can sing to high heaven that, hey, we got one. Look at Steve Bannon. He's gone to jail. Mike Flynn, he was thrown in jail. You have lots of Trump associates thrown in jail over nothing, trivial things. But you have people like Hillary Clinton who paid for a false, made up dossier from Steele, and the Democrats and Hillary paid for it. We already know this because they were fined for it. So none of this is made up. And they used that dossier to obtain a FISA warrant. And they spied on Donald Trump, and they went into the White House. Comey said it himself. The head of the FBI said he went into the White House to trip people up. So basically, when someone tells you that the deep state doesn't exist, oh yes, it does. The deep state exists, and it's alive and well. And it's in the Democrat Party. And you have rhino Republicans who are part of the deep state. Those people who oppose the Republican agenda are rhinos. They're not allies. Just because they have an R behind their name doesn't mean that they're part of the crew. And they shouldn't be invited to the cookout. We should primary and definitely vet the next Republican set of Republicans that get into office. If you are an establishment Republican, you should be gone. If you're an old head and you are out here siding with the Democrats and sometimes sympathizing with the Democrats, you have to go. We need people who are MAGA. And people who are MAGA are those who believe in America. We want smaller government. We want those things that abide by our Constitution. And when we're talking about the Constitution, we're talking about the things that the Constitution allows in our country. You know, I'm sorry. I'm a constitutionalist. And when it comes to basic principles in this country, I would love to go back to where America was great, when people were forced to be responsible. There were no shortcuts in society. And I'm not afraid to go back to those days where there were no taxes, where if you earned an honest day's wage, that's what you took home. You saved what you made. There was no government overreach. The government didn't tax everything you bought. And this is how things were kept low. The banks, if you wanted to keep your money in the bank, you could. If you didn't, that's fine too. If you wanted to invest in the stock market, you could, but it wasn't mandatory. Didn't have all these gimmicks to steal your money. And that's what banks basically do. They steal your money. They take your money. They tell you when you can take it out. They tell you how much you can put in. They report and tell on you when you put too much money in, and they tell on you when you take too much money out. And then when they tell you that you can't take your money out, it's because they're investing your money and making money off your money. And then when you want to go in for a loan, they say, no, you can't get a loan. Even though you have money here, we won't give you a individual responsibility is gone in this country. We need to go back to the days when there was no welfare system. If you want to invest your money and want to save for retirement, you can do so. You save it yourself, or you can invest in the stock market. If you don't want to do that, that's fine too. Put your money in your mattress, put it in the safe, do whatever you want, but it's on the individual. And people say, no, we have Social Security. Do you really? That's why it's going to be insolvent in 2030, because they're taking that money. The government, these bureaucrats are stealing your money and spending it on God knows what. Could be the illegals. We don't know. They're taking that money and we'll just leave you an IOU. But every American with a job is paying into Social Security, and they're telling you that you don't have any. But There are illegals on Social Security. How is that possible when they didn't pay into the system? When you have all of this chicanery going on behind your back in America, it's time for us to say, all right, you guys have fooled us into this big government, but it's time for us to say no more. Government was good when it built roads, maintained the military, and got out of our way. I don't need your DEI policies. I don't need your homosexuality policies. I don't need your environmentalist policies. I don't need those things. Basically, you're just looking for ways to take my money. None of these things benefit you. When they're talking about, you know, solar power and wind, that doesn't benefit you. Those things aren't even effective. If they wanted to be effective, they would go nuclear. But they don't want to go nuclear because it's more effective than both wind and solar put together. And it costs less. But they don't want to do that because they're not really serious. It's all a scam. It's just a way to fleece America to make us dependent upon China and others. You're destroying the energy um, sector of our country and are making us vulnerable. If there was a war right now, they've already depleted our reserves and no one's talking about it. They're using this DEI nonsense in our military. Woke is the new military. Feelings and sensitivity is our new military. It's not competent people, it's progressive people. And we don't need those people to fight wars because they cannot fight. I'm afraid to put these people into a war with our equipment. They would do more harm than good. You know, you say, well, Ace, how can you make such a statement? Well, you know what? I'll tell you what. We have some National Guardsmen at the border, and the illegals plowed right through them. And I know many people didn't say much about that, but that was a good example of how weak our military has become. And the people in charge who utilize them and put them in harm's way are incompetent. You're going to stick the military on our border and not give them the means or the orders to protect themselves or our border. So you're basically letting people steal their way into our government. And those people that plowed through our National Guard, they released them. They didn't say, oh, no, you guys broke the law. You attacked our military. You're going to get out of here. No, they said, oh, well, we'll detain you for a little bit, but you guys will be able to go ahead and enter the country. And they did. So anyone telling you that, oh, those people weren't allowed, those people were allowed to come into our country. And they're here. And those people who violated our laws are now in our country to violate more laws. Matter of fact, they're going to get a credit card with money. They're going to get a Biden phone. They're going to get transportation. They're going to get housing. They're going to get food. They're going to get everything they want, and they don't even belong here. And no one is upset in America because Americans have become numb to reality. They're numb. Americans don't understand what reality is anymore. They live in this bubble of progressivism, and right is wrong, wrong is right, real is phony, and phony is real. And that's how we live here. Everyone deserves American tax dollars but the Americans. Injustice is okay, because the media says so. A man can be abused by the law and no one is upset. People will protest over abortion, but they won't protest over lawfare. People will put on vulgar hats and hold up signs and fight for the right to kill a child in the womb. But no one wants to talk about the responsibility before the child is conceived. And if you do, oh, you're just violating a woman's rights. Well, she does have rights. She has the rights to say no when she knows uh, she can't afford, nor is she able or willing to take care of a child. That's when your rights end, start and end. Now, when you come out and say, I'm going to demand that society condone my behavior and my irresponsibility, that's when your rights stop. Because I don't want to condone that. I don't need abortion is not a right. It's not in the Constitution. The founders of this country were not thinking about, hey, you know what? These women are going to get really loose in this country. So we should just go ahead and put a provision for abortion in there. They didn't do that because when the Constitution was written, women had husbands and they were responsible and they didn't go around opening their legs and they it was seen as obscene and you were cast out for such behavior. But today, there's no casting out. There's no shame. And the women will say to you, well, the men are chasing us. Well, do you sleep with every man who chases you? If the answer is yes, then you know what your label is. If the answer is no, then why are you out here fighting and screaming for an abortion that you don't need? You have so many women who get suckered in this feminist nonsense, and abortion is part of feminism because feminists hate women. Feminists hate men because they can't be men, and they hate women who are feminine. They hate women who want to have families because it insults them. But no, because it shames them. It says, I'm trying to be a man, but I can't be a man. And I hate those women who are out there being feminine because it makes us look bad. Because when I cut my hair off and put on my cargo shorts and my tie-dye shirt and my Birkenstocks in my uniform, it makes me look silly when real women are out here saying they want to have children and stay at home with their husbands. So they tell women, live your best life. Don't get married. Don't have children. Just travel. Just be an independent woman. And those women are miserable. These women are on antidepressants at a high rate today. Women are miserable and they will tell you that they don't like this lifestyle. Women today have had more partners than the women of the 30s or 40s or 50s or the 60s for that matter. Feminism was a scam to get women into the workplace to pay more taxes, to break up the family, to break up the children from the family so the family couldn't influence children, so the state could have control of your children. That is what feminism has done. Because when the child was at home with the mother, they learned family values. There are no family values today. When the husband went out and got a job, he took care of his family and they looked up to that man. So the patriarchy was good. And they tell you now that, oh, why would you want to stay at home when that man goes out to work? Because they're taking care of their children. Because marriage is a business. because you are functioning under that man's name and you breed his children to raise them to be responsible and productive citizens so they can protect their family name and grow. In today's society, you don't have family names, you have criminals. People don't care about their names. They're out here twerking, committing crime, abusing their bodies. They don't care for anything. They don't even care for you, and they will take your life. This is society. This is the society we now live in. It's chaos. It's secular because the Democrats hate God. I know they run around saying God, but they hate God because everything that they propose is anti God. And they want their agenda to succeed because they 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 want to see the destruction of the country. They don't want Donald Trump to come back in because he brings sanity back to America, which means it'll stall their progress. And if they have someone who's running with Donald Trump who makes sense, because the Democrats have no one to run but stereotypical Negroes who do the bidding of their masters, because the Democrat Party is the slave party. I'm not gonna mince words. The Democrat Party is the slave party. These are the people who created Jim Crow. And Joe Biden himself is a relic of that Jim Crow South. He was a man that was bragging about working with the good old boys. He was the man that bragged that his state was a slave state. This is the man who's talking about the urban jungle. And he didn't want his children to go to school with black kids. The man who created popcorn, a stereotypical figure with a straight razor. He said he learned about cockroaches from black people. He talked about Barack Obama being the first articulate, clean black person he ever met. All these things that segregation Joe says, and the media ignores it as if it never existed. But they go out of their way to smear Donald Trump by saying Donald Trump didn't want to rent to black people, which was an absolute lie. If you were able to Google that case, you would find out that it wasn't factual that he was discriminating against black people. He was saying that he didn't want Section 8 people in his building. There were black people in his building. They always seem to leave that part out of the story. And there's another story where Donald Trump allowed a black woman to live rent free in his building because she couldn't afford it. But you don't tell that story. They want to, you have to lie to make Donald Trump look bad. But they're afraid to tell the truth about Joe Biden because he created the crime bill and the drug bill. But no one wants to talk about that and how it hurt the black community and how it affected black males. And he says, if you don't understand the difference between him and Trump, then you're not black. If Donald Trump would have said something as ignorant as that, they would still be talking about it. But you have a bootlicker like Charlemagne the Fraud who says, "Oh, he wasn't offended," because you can't insult a slave. A slave loves his master, and he will do everything to make excuses for his master. Charlemagne didn't have anything to say back to Joe Biden, but he has a lot of smoke for all Republicans. And it's sad that black people are out here saying they hate Republicans, but they have nothing negative to say about Democrats when the Democrats have a complete history of oppression when it comes to black people. And you ask black people, they sit here and say, "Oh, we're going to HBCU." How did you get HBCUs? That's a good question. Who created the HBCUs? Was it the Democrats or was it the Republicans? Huh, that's a good question. Maybe they should look it up. Maybe they should look up the Morrill Act and find out that the HBCUs were created because the Democrats didn't want blacks in universities. So it was the Republicans that allowed land grants for black colleges. Mm, isn't that funny? 13th, 14th Amendments, Republicans. Hmm. Civil Rights Act, Republicans. And they were saying about the Civil Rights Act that was passed uh, uh, around the time of Martin Luther King. Well, that was a Republican who was on his in the hospital that cast the deciding vote for that bill. But this, oh, it was a majority Democrats voted. No, they didn't, because it was Democrats who were filibustering it. I believe it was Robert Byrd, Robert KKK Byrd, that Joe Biden did the eulogy for. And Hillary Clinton said he was her mentor. You have Democrats over here praising the Klanmen, but they have nothing to, but the party switched. Did they? So why are they praising Klanmen if they were a different party? Interesting how the chickens come home to roost. They're sitting here giving eulogies. I don't think there were any Republicans giving eulogies for a Klanman. And if they were, the media would not allow them to live it down. But they glance over the fact that Democrats did it because the Democrats are the Clinton party. You talk about all the Confederate statues that are up and the Confederate portraits in the White House. That was under a Democrat. Matter of fact, it was Nancy Pelosi's father that commissioned those. And no one wants to talk about that. More Democrat foolery. And everyone wants to ignore these things. They don't want to talk about facts, but let's make up lies about Donald Trump when there's so many facts about Democrats out there. And right now they're trying to attack Byron Donalds because he said under Jim Crow, black families were together. Stop. Yes, it's factual. Black families were stronger, and there were more black marriages during Jim Crow. And then you have Lyndon Johnson coming around with his welfare program, which basically ran men out of households, and it affected the black family more because black women have always sold black men out. And I'm just going to tell you the facts because, you have people saying, oh, it was the white man running the black man out of the house. No, it wasn't. It wasn't the white man. It was the Democrat man who said, hey, and it went to everyone. Welfare was presented to everyone. But it was the black woman in large number that said, you know what, I'd rather take that government check. And also you had some lazy men too. I'm going to tell the story properly. You had some lazy men who were encouraging those women to take that free money, and they decided to leave the house or stay out of the house just in case they came by to do a check. And they took that money because lazy people love free money. And this is why Joe Biden, when he offers you free stuff, it's insulting you because he's calling you lazy and saying that you're ineffective as a human being to do for yourself. Let me come and give you something, slaves. And black people are all for it. Black women in particular, because black women vote Democrat more than black men. And black men now, 20%, are favoring Trump. They're turning into conservatives. And black women, via the Democrat Party are out here attacking black men and calling them Uncle Toms. And and here, let me tell you like this. If you tell a Republican you're gonna vote Democrat, they'll say, hey, bad choice. But that's your choice. But if you're a black man and you say you want to vote Republican to a Democrat, oh, you're a bootlicker, you're Uncle Tom, you're a sellout, you're a coon, you're every word in the book, but an individual. You're not black if you're not voting Democrat. You leave the plantation, they will attack you. And every person, black, in entertainment who has said that they wanted to vote Republican has been labeled a Uncle Tom by black women and the white liberal because they don't want you to get off the plantation. So they use shame. Look at Charlemagne the Fraud. Look at Stephen A. Smith. These men are afraid. They're cowards because they know what the truth is, but they love their paycheck from their master more than they love freedom. And I'm just going to say it. These guys are out here uh, pushing propaganda for the Democrats because Charlemagne said, "Oh yeah, Joe Biden's bad, and Joe Biden's this, and Joe Biden's that, and but Trump was an insurrectionist, and I don't want to vote for him, and he tried to overthrow the government and whatever other nonsense he runs out of his mouth because he's a bootlicker." This guy is totally incompetent. They trot his stupid ass out in front of people, and he spews this nonsense about how Democrats are selling out black people, but I'm gonna vote for him anyway. How stupid can you be? You're sitting here telling people you're being sold out, and Democrats aren't doing enough. Democrats have never done anything for black people, but sabotage us. But you're saying, oh, it's okay. I understand they're sabotaging us, and they've never done anything, and they put black people in jail, and they've created laws that hurt black people. But I'm going to vote for them anyway because Trump says mean things. But Biden has done harmful things. So someone who wasn't talking to you that people have taken out of context means more to you than a person who actually passed legislation to hurt black people and have said such horrible things about black people, questioning their intelligence. That's okay for you. But a man that created investment zones, made the funding for HBCUs permanent, and increased the funding, and pushed the First Step Act, and you can come around, just make up all kind of and do all kind of coping. So, oh, they were talking about that. Then, if they were talking about it, why didn't they do it? I'm so sick of these people who kiss the backsides of Democrats, running around trying to talk people down, over talking people, and they won't stick to the facts. They argue like children. They argue like females. They sit here and say, what about the Republicans? You don't know anything about Republicans. You've never voted Republican. You've never even spoken to a Republican. You don't even know what the Republicans stand for. You don't even understand the platform of the Republican Party. But these guys are always sitting here saying, well, if you're not going to let me vote for my master, both parties are bad. Both parties are bad, huh? Yeah. A party you know nothing about, a party you've never taken the time to figure out. And only thing you understand about Republicans is that you label them racist while you're voting for the racist party. Blacks should not be able to vote. Let me say this: most black people shouldn't be able to vote. They should keep their asses away from the polls because they're too stupid. And that's absolutely fact. That's fact. They don't understand politics. Even the stupid black Democrat lawmakers don't understand politics. Hakeem Jeffries doesn't understand politics. He's an idiot. He's stupid. You got the ghetto queen. I forget that Richardson, whatever her name is, sister girl. And they sit here and they speak in this slang vernacular, in this ghetto in the vernacular when they're in Congress, when they trot these bootlicking Democrats out, because the majority of blacks are Democrats because they're there to do nothing but keep their communities impoverished and stupid. This is why all black communities are trash and there's no growth. They talk about, you should support black businesses. Where? Where are the black businesses? They don't exist. There are no black corporations. There are no black Fortune 500s. There are no black stations. There's no black filmed studios. There's no black music companies. There's nothing black. And you live in America because black people hang out with Republicans, with Democrats, and they shun Republicans. And they don't understand, if you become more conservative and more independent, you will see the Democrats for who they are. They are the devil and they're holding you back. It's like saying, hey, you know what? I want to learn how to fish. And the guy says, no, you know what? I got a couple of fish. Let me give you some. You eat the fish and you come back. It's like, you know what? I appreciate that fish, but I really have been wanting to fish. Yeah, that fishing, man, that takes a lot of work, man. Hey, I got an extra fish. Here you go. And that's how the Democrats treat black people. You're too stupid. You shouldn't have to waste your time trying to do all that learning and getting into real careers. You just, what, just be a rapper, be an athlete, sing a song, Blackie, sing a song. And what do black people do? I'm gonna get a communications degree. I'm well educated. I'm gonna go and get myself a degree in psychology. I'm well educated. I'm gonna get a master's in business. Ooh, no one's ever done that. They don't offer those anywhere, do they? And you wonder why there's a gap in wealth, because you don't understand education. You don't understand what's in demand. You treat education like you treat your existence. You don't care. Then you blame everyone else. Sports are temporary, and people go into sports thinking that they're going to make a living, and you cannot make a living in sports. There are very few that do. You're going to get injured, you're going to get cut, or you may not make it even to the dance. This is why you have thousands upon thousands of black men that enter college simply for athletics. They leave it with the easiest, worthless degree like ethnic studies, liberal arts degree, and no one cares about those degrees. And they fault America for their failures because they didn't do their homework. And it's time for this to stop. If you're voting Joe Biden, you deserve the reality that you've been living for the last 40 years. If you don't vote Donald Trump, you're looking at opportunities. You're looking at a new beginning. You're looking at, hey, we're ready to stand on our feet, and we need someone in office that's going to get government out of our way, that's not going to promote people just because of their color, but we want to promote people based on merit, based on their ability to do the job. Instead of getting people fired because they're plagiarizing articles, because they do the wrong things for certain groups and they offend them. We need people to be rewarded for their work and not for their identity. When you look at the Biden administration, you have a bunch of losers who are there because of their sexual choice, their gender, and their color. It's a crap show. It is not what America is about, and it's time for it to end. Trump 2024, the battle is on. Make your decision. On that, Ace Capone signing off. Let me know what you think. My email is down below. My PayPal is down below if you want to contribute to this channel. Until next time, peace, and I'm gone.